Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Books of the Month. I am your host, O.C. Pringle, and I am so delighted, I am excited and humbled to have with us Dr. Frank L. Douglas. Listen, from the cadence in his voice to the vibratory feels that this man creates, listen, everything is absolutely exceptional. Welcome, Dr. Douglas. Welcome to Books of the Month, sir.
Thank you, Bishop.
Dr. Douglas, I want our viewing audience to know, why do we refer to you as doctor?
Well, I am a doctor.
A real doctor.
I am a real doctor. I actually have a doctorate in physical chemistry, as well as a doctor of medicine. I'm an internist. My specialty is a little bit unusual. It is called neuroendocrinology. What that simply means is that I have spent a lot of time trying to understand how the brain controls the blood circulation. So hypertension, which is one of my specialties, when I was active in academic medicine, my concern was what goes on in the brain to control blood pressure, control heart rate.
So, in actuality, I'm sitting here with a scientist.
Yes.
A scientist, Dr. Frank Douglas. Listen, you authored Defining Moments of a Free Man from a Black Stream. Initially, when I saw the title of your book, I was really interested in the free man and the black stream. There's a reason, there's a meaning behind that goes beyond what the average person who would when they would initially see the cover, they wouldn't realize what free man and black stream represents. What does it represent?
It actually is the meaning of my name. And in my book, I actually tell how I discovered that. Interestingly enough, I did not know that. And I was a scientist at Xerox at the time. And a technician who was British stopped me one day and he said, "Do you know what your name means?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, Frank is Celtic in origin, and it means free man. And Douglas is Scottish in origin, and it means from a black stream." And that's you. You walk around here like a free man from a black
stream. I absolutely love it. So you were a scientist at Xerox.
Yes.
Did y'all hear that? A scientist at Xerox. Okay, so currently you're retired.
Yes.
Okay, so where did you retire from?
When I retired, I was actually running a small biotech company that in Cape Canaveral, Florida. And that company was interesting because we were trying to develop a therapeutic vaccine for women who had vaginal problems due to HPV, pre-cancer for HPV. Unfortunately, it was a Taiwanese parent, and the parent in Taiwan ran out of money in the middle of doing a clinical trial for this therapeutic vaccine.
Okay. So that was your first retirement?
No, that was my last retirement.
That was your last retirement?
Yes. My first...
Okay, this is amazing. Okay.
My first retirement was in 2004. I was executive vice president in charge of research, development, and regulatory affairs for Aventis, which at that time was in the top 3, top 5 global pharmaceutical company. And in 2004, I retired. Thereafter retirement, I went to MIT. I was a professor of practice in a number of departments at MIT, and I had expected to have my final retirement at MIT. Unfortunately, there was an incident. A young black faculty member was denied tenure, actually went on a 12-day hunger strike to protest. I was asked to intervene, and after a number of discussions, recognized that indeed there was a larger problem for minority faculty at MIT. I tried to get the president to address the problem, which she actually declined to do, and I resigned in protest. So that was my second retirement.
And the third was Xerox.
No, Xerox I started after I'd completed my my PhD in physical chemistry. That was
Okay.
my first industrial experience. And I was at Xerox for 2 years, and then went to medical school and did an MD.
You're an amazing man.
The interesting thing is that going to medical school was sort of an accident. At Xerox, I was dealing with not being able to get meaningful projects because of my ethnicity. And interestingly enough, my office mate, who was Jewish and who was being pushed out of Xerox because of his age, said to me, "Why don't you go back to academia? You're an academician." And I began to look for academic positions when the question was raised, why don't you go to medical school? And so there I was at Cornell Medical School.
At Cornell
Yeah.
Medical School.
Yes.
That's in
In New York City.
York. Ithaca.
Ithaca, I was at Cornell in Ithaca for my PhD in physical chemistry. The medical school is actually in New York City. So I
Okay.
went to New York City for medical
Okay,
school.
just to be clear, I'm familiar with Cornell and Ithaca, not because I attended the university. I preached in Ithaca several times. So again, I've said this 3 times. It's okay to say it the 4th time. You are an amazing brother. I'm humbled to meet you. You are
Thank you.
also quite affluent in German.
Yes.
Okay, the only thing I know in German is, I think it's Ich liebe dich.
Yes.
I love you.
Yes.
And kann ich bitte mit dir sprechen? May I
Yeah,
speak with you,
in
please?
English, yeah.
Exactly. So, you developing the whole German-speaking ability. Tell me about that.
Well, I was, at the time, I was the global head of research and development at Myron Merrill Dow, a mid-sized pharmaceutical company. And Herx, a very large German conglomerate, bought Myron Merrill Dow and formed Herx Marion Roussel. Roussel was a French company which they also owned and combined. And they turned to me to be the global head of research and development for Herx Marion Roussel. I arrived in Germany only to find that they were members of the board of Herx who objected to having an American be the head of research. Many of the scientists objected. And in my very first meeting introducing myself, about 20 individuals in the first 2 rows got up, said something I did not understand, and walked out. When I learned what they had said, spontaneously I just simply said, I have just heard that your colleagues have said that they are sick and tired of people who can't even speak their language coming to tell them how to do science. Here's what I will do. I will start learning German. I might not succeed, but you will see me trying. And the deal is I expect you to try to do your science differently so that you can produce the drugs. I started learning German, and much to my surprise more than theirs, they were quite surprised, I became fluent in German in 6 months.
6 months.
In 6 months. In fact, it was written up twice in the Frankfurt Allgemeine, their Frankfurt newspaper.
Again, amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, listen, you're a black man.
Yes.
And you've been doing great things since the early 70s,
Yeah.
dating back as far as 70, 71, 72. Was there ever a time you dealt with any backlash for just being a black man, or being questioned of whether or not you're able to complete a job of that caliber because you are a black man in that day and time?
Well, when I first came to America in '63 and went to Lehigh University, that was, in fact, my very first 3-4 weeks I had to deal with that issue. But as you talk about the seventh is, one that I describe in the book, in my memoirs, and is very vivid to me. And that was having been denied becoming the global head of research for SIBA, which is now Novartis. I decided to look to see if there was any American company that would accept a black man as head of research and development. And I was interviewing at Marion Merrill Dow. And it was the third interview I was having. We were sitting around the table, six of their senior people and the CEO. And after about an hour of discussion, the CEO leaned forward, looked straight at me, and said, "Now, if you get this job, you will have 3,000 scientists worldwide reporting to you. How does being black affect your ability to do that job?" I was stunned. I thought to myself, here it is. This is where I'm excluded. Then it occurred to me that this was my third visit, so they knew that I was black. Mr. Barber, the senior vice president of business development, had an accent. I thought he was British. So I turned to him and I said, "Mr. Barber, since you are British, I know you have no problems dealing with people from the Commonwealth." He then looked straight at me and said, "I am not British, I'm South African." And I said, whoa. I collected myself and then I said, "Mr. Lyons, the fact that I'm sitting here tells me that you have no problems with my being black. And you need to know that the fact that I'm sitting here tells you that I have no problems with being black. As a result, I expect no problems between the two of us, and therefore no problems within the company."
I love it. I absolutely love it. Did you get the job?
I got the job. Actually, I was called the following morning after the fourth interview. I was called the following morning and told that I'm it. I have the job.
And again, how many scientists reported to you?
At that time, 3,000. When I came on board.
3,000.
Yes.
And at one time you had
In Aventis, I had 6,000.
6,000
worldwide.
scientists.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Listen, again, I am humbled to have an opportunity to meet you, interview you, and this is something I'm extremely proud of. I want, the world to know who Dr. Frank L. Douglas is. Google him, look it up. Where can we find the book? Where can our viewing audience find the book?
The book is on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon, also Barnes & Noble.
Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and the cover of this book. I love the pen. I just love the design, everything about it.
Yeah.
It exemplifies the epitome of excellence. And
Thank you.
certainly you are an excellent gentleman. And I'm looking forward to, I want to know some more about you. I would love to interview you again, possibly in the future, and possibly even have you come to my church and lecture. Listen, those of you out there, get Dr. Douglas, invite him, look him up. Bring him to your location, all right? Listen, it's been an honor. I don't want y'all to go anywhere. Stay tuned. I'll be right back with our next guest. God bless you.